Tom Carpenter. Is there anybody else here who got arrested the day of the civil disobedience?
What is the name of your friend, Swaggart? What was the last name?
Oh, yeah, that's my ex-husband.
He was
left.
here briefly.
He left.
He left.
I would have said him if he was, I know him. In the biblical
Ms.
sense.
Dennison got arrested.
Who?
Ms. Dennison.
Yeah, okay, so there's 4 of us here.
But you got, hold down. Sorry. Walked in the court and the judge looked at my husband and said, get her out of here.
No, I'm
So
talking
I never
about,
went through the whole thing, so I don't count.
Okay. well, I'm confused, but anyway, on that day.
Who are you?
Oh, my name is Cindy Senefeld.
And I'm Pat Van Skyke.
And we took part in the civil disobedience, and I'm gonna tell you what I remember about it, which was, I was a student at the time, so I could afford to go to jail. And because I was a student, I didn't have to go to work the next day. But I couldn't afford to pay my fines. So Phil Amadon and Rhonda volunteered to pay my fines. And so there were people who could afford to go to jail, you know, some of us, and then there were people who paid our fines. And it was a group effort to be able to do that. And I have a picture here that was from the Enquirer of me and Roger Swaggart, my ex-husband, being arrested at Zimmer, which made it into maybe an early edition of the Enquirer. And my mother was so worried about my grandmother seeing it and being embarrassed. And my grandmother saw it and she said, "Go girl."
Oh, that's great.
But reading the newspaper articles, what comes back to me is, it says in the newspaper there were 1,000 people there that day. You know how the newspapers underestimate crowds? I'm sure it was more than that. But it also says that there were 200 deputy sheriffs and law enforcement people from all over the state of Ohio. And that I can attest to. I mean, there were cops on horseback. There were SWAT teams on the roof. It was very much ridiculous.
Right.
And then 29 of us sat in a circle and held hands and sang songs. And they just were so overblown about what was gonna go on. So that's my little part.
Well, mine is actually fast forwarding quite a few years after that. 27 years ago, my husband and I adopted our son from Guatemala, and for our dossier, I couldn't have a criminal record of any kind, so I had to get it expunged, which broke my heart because I was so proud of that. I do still have framed the warrant for my arrest, so they can't take that away. So I went to court to get it expunged, and the judge, who seemed like not too much older than me, said, I actually represented myself, which he didn't like that, but it was a pretty simple motion. And he turned to the prosecutor and said, "Does she look like a danger to society to you?" And the prosecutor kind of didn't know where he was going and said, "I guess not." And then he went on to say, "That was quite a demonstration, wasn't it? And good for you." And he said, "And by the way, I was at that demonstration." So you file your entry orders and the motion. So, just that really broad swath of who was there and the support. And by the way, Cindy said she was a student, so she could afford to not go to work. I was talking to Tim, I was a Cincinnati public school teacher at the time. And before I got arrested, I talked to the union and said, "Am I gonna cool? Am I gonna lose my job on this?" And they said I'd be cool. So.
And you were cool.
I was a nice little girl.